back to Dungeon and Dyslexia. My name's Adrian, and today I'm reviewing a game that is bloody amazing. Knights, Dragons, massive monster manual. Every person's going to get two occupations, so you can multi-class nice and easily, or double class and become really, really powerful in one area. I'll explain that when we get onto it. But it's got its own world, it's got its own adventure, and the world is incredibly sandboxed and really interesting. Did I say you get to play knights again? Big knights in armour. Yes, we are looking at Horde Wars Advanced here by Blackwall Games, which I've read several times now, and there aren't many books that when I pick them up that I can read from start to finish. It's not only is it interesting, it's nice and easy to read. Okay, before we get into the book itself and the review that I've spoiled, where can you pick the book from? So it's a little bit difficult if you are in America. You're absolutely fine because you can go onto the Blackwall Games here and pick up the PDF copy, softback copy or hardback copy. So I bought my PDF copy here from Blackwall Games. I was trying to get hold of a hardback copy, but prices being the way they are, shipping, it's not currently available to get a hardback copy outside of America. Okay, so sadly, however, Todd did reach out to me and has sent me the copy that you can see here. It was bought through another company and then sent direct to me. So I was the test for the United Kingdom. It seemed to have worked, so thumbs up. Hopefully we'll be able to have some more news, or there'll be more news on their website. I'll do a video and update as well if it becomes standard that you can get a hardback or softback copy outside of America. If you want just the PDF, so you can buy it from Blackwall Games here. You can get it from DriveThruRPG as well. I'll put my affiliate link in the description of the video. Obviously, buy it direct. It does make them a little bit more money, or you can use my affiliate link. Give you the option, and it does help me pay for towards other things. Now, full disclosure, I was given this copy that this hardback copy was sent to me, and I don't want to mention how it was printed or any of that as yet, so we'll follow it up at a later date. Let's just get into the book. This is it's an exciting one. I like this. So again, I'm going to go through the PDF copy so you can actually see what's going to be in here. This is a 300-page, it's a player's guide, Dungeons Master's Guide, Monsters Manual Guide, World Book, all in one. And as you can see by this amazing front cover, you are a knight fighting a load of people. Mass combat rules are in here. There is castle building rules, and you get to use a D12, which is by far the coolest of all the dice that you can roll. It is, honestly. It's the best dice. Right, so here we go. So 300-page PDF. Book is written by Todd and Nathan here. So Todd did send me the hardback copy of this one, so I haven't paid for this. I did pay for the PDF. I haven't, full disclosure, I haven't been asked to do this review. I am just doing this because I think this is a wonderful book that I think people should add to their collection. We're going to open up here with PDF. And say it's nicely broken down. So rules are the first 13, well, technically 12 pages of rules in the whole of the book. That's it. So if you're giving this to your players, you can just give them the first 13 pages and just go, just read that, and then you're away. We are then into character creation. So you're going to pick a different species, you can pick a career, you can have your skills, features, or feats, sounds familiar, equipment, and that's it. That's 70, so that's another 60 pages. The rest of the book then is building a kingdom, mass army rules, nautical war rules of fighting at sea combat, Gamesmaster Section. There's not a lot in there. We are then into beasts, monsters, huge monster manual, load of NPCs, over 100 pages of monsters, NPCs and beasts, random treasure tables, random artifacts or magical items, technically, a starting adventure, and a sandbox world with a load of other countries and rules of countries. And then it's going to close down with some sample characters and a character sheet at the end of the book. Okay, so here we've got just the introduction to the book. What you're going to need, D12. That's pretty much it that you're going to need through the game. And if you roll a 12, automatically you succeed. That is a critical. And obviously, you think about a D20. On a D12, it's going to come up more often. We've got attribute checks. So the attributes in this game, it doesn't cover it in the book, which is kind of weird. It doesn't actually tell you what the attributes are, but the attributes are saves. So if someone's doing some magic or you're trying to dodge against something, as a general rule, you're going to use your attributes. There are only 4 attributes in the game, which I will come on to when we get onto that, because I don't think they're listed. There's a little bit back and forward on reading the basic rules, but say 12 pages, I got it quite quickly. Skill checks, you just take your skill, roll a D12, and then you're looking to achieve over a number. Normally the difficulty is going to be between 10 and it's between 8 to 12 for the difficulty. You can have circumstances bonus. Most of the bonuses in this game, if someone's helping you or something's more favourable, you're going to get, it's normally a static +2 to there. There are other bonuses you get for things like equipment and targets, equipment and bonuses as well. Out of combat, it's going to use, so if you've played Shadow Dark, it uses a round system. So it's going to go around clockwise. So you're going to make sure that everyone is doing something on a round. Okay. Actions during your action. This again will be very, very familiar. You can attack, you can move, and you can perform. So do something sort of basic, or you can do a skill. Okay. So that's it. Simple. Movement. Your movement is down and based on your character, on the speed of your character and your land speed. So let's say you can move up to 6 spaces. So creatures, when it comes to movement, the speed, which is one of your stats, will indicate just how far they can go on land. You've got rules for standing up, from going from prone. All the rules for climbing and swimming is here, and opportunity attacks. So if you try and move through a crowded area, the person you're moving through will get an opportunity attack against you. Okay. But all of this hopefully sounds nice and familiar to a lot of people. We're then going to get into drowning rules, jumping and falling rules, random travelling, how far it takes to get places. And then the next thing you know, we're straight into combat. Okay, before I get into the rules itself, I was saying that, this is a very easy book to read. So the one thing that, I like this, it's very text heavy initially. I'm going to come back to other bits. There are some pictures, and we get a lot more pictures once we get into the monster part of the book. But this is all single thing in paragraphs. Okay, so as a dyslexic, I find this layout incredibly easy and nice and simple to use. I was really surprised. When I first looked at it, I thought, a bit text heavy, but all the paragraphs are small. So it's not that intimidating to read. And the first time I read this through, I just read this through in one whole go. And I don't do that with many books. Firstly, because it's the layout and the setup's really nice the way it's done. Secondly, it was an actually joy to read. This, I really do like this. So combat is nice and simple. You're going to get your initiative to start with, which is based on the attribute. Reflexes, which you roll a d12, add to reflexes, whoever gets the highest goes first. Starting distance is a little bit abstract. You're going to roll a d6 and then just determine how far you are away from the NPCs, or theatre of the mind, you can do that. This game, it doesn't appear to be set to play with minis, so there's going to be a lot more theatre of the mind with this, I think, the way that it's sort of set up. Morale, as you'd imagine, is creatures take hit points. Some creatures will try and break and run away. If you're surprised, people that you're surprised aren't going to get to do anything for the first round. Death and dying rules, nice and simple. Once you get a 0 hit points, you start to die. Roll a d4. That's how long you've got before you're out and you are gone. Then got some general rules in here for blindness, carrying capacity, combat space. So how much, it's it uses. You can either use yards or meters in here. Okay. Then there's some rules here from converting from basic to advanced. I haven't read the basic rules. I've only read advanced. Basic is it's basically the slimmed down version of this. Buy the advanced. Don't worry about basic. Obviously, if you've got basic and you're used to it, you're going to need to just read this little conversion table. Defense, when you're attacking people, you're rolling against the defense or an AC. It's not called AC in this. It's just static defense. Light armor gives you've got to beat a difficulty of 8. Heavy armor is 10. You can have other modifiers. Doubling skills whenever you have ability or trait tells you to double a skill. You actually double the skill, not the other bonuses as well. You've got rules for drinking and carousing, exhaustion. You've got to, normal things. You've got to eat, or you're going to go into starvation and dehydration. Immunity. Lots of creatures in this game will be fully immune to something, and if they're immune, no damage whatsoever. We've got rules for incapacity, paralysis, petrified, unconscious. Melee and ranged attacks works very much the same as other things. Obviously, you're going to need line of sight and within distance for range, but other than that, you pick your target, roll a d12, trying to get over their defense ability. If you exceed that, you then can go on to do your damage, and you just roll the damage. And if you roll a crit, so a natural 12, you double the damage. You're not rolling, you're just doubling the maximum damage that could roll, plus then additional stuff. You can have supernatural protection, which is going to half the damage. So if you had protection from fire, you're going to take half damage. If you had immunity from fire, you're not going to take any damage whatsoever. 3 different types of perception: standard, night vision, and echolocation. I think that's how it's pronounced. Standard, it's all of us. Night vision, see in the dark. Echolocation is like bats, where it gives you that sort of sound waves see, which basically makes you immune to blindness. Different size categories of creatures in here. Different rules for extreme hot and cold temperature, as well as weather tables. Damaging items in here, from damaging doors, roofs, gates, and walls. And then all the rules you'd imagine for collapsing rooms. If that's not enough, still, bear in mind, this is only the rules. We are then into traps, and each of the traps here, I think there's about 10 traps, so from a crossbow trap to a scimitar to a poison dart, and they will just have a difficulty, so a DC rating. This is the difficulty you need to roll on your d12 plus your disarm trap skill to spot it, deactivate it, whatever it may be. Obviously, just run at it. That's always another good way of disarming traps. And then we're just into character creation. So that's your rules. So 12, 13 pages, nice, simple, very clear. It's pretty much roll a d12, looking to get the highest result that you can. When you are creating a character, there are 8 steps to the character. So you're going to pick your species, sort of elf, human, whatever it may be. You are then going to calculate your hit points. You're going to get 2 careers, unless you go on hard ass mode, which is 1. Don't go on that one. Go pick 2. It'll just make your character, it's easier to play, but a little more interesting. You're going to get some skills here as well. And then you've got the list of the skills in the sidebar. You're going to choose your fighting style. Your fighting style will allow you to fight twice in a round. Attack twice in a round. You're going to get your starting equipment, which will be from either one of your careers, and you just get equipment and money. Your carrying capacity you will then sort out, and then pick a feature, which, as long as you meet the prerequisites, feature, feat. It's exactly the same thing, so it's some sort of power. It's a level-based system. It's going to take you up to 12 levels, and then your character technically will retire. And as you're going up levels, each point of experience you're going to get between 2 to 4 for each adventure that you go on. And once you get to 12 experience, you're going to level up. And as you level up, you can get more hit points, additional perks and feats. So a perk is a slightly less powerful feat. Where a feature is more powerful. And then every 4th level you're going to go to a new tier, so you're going to become even more powerful. You start off at tier 1, you then go to 5th level, you go to tier 2, 9th level tier 3. You're going to get a capstone. So a capstone
additional dice of damage, additional tribute point, and your skills are going to go from +2 to +3 or +3 to +4. But capstones come from your career or race and species, I should say, and these are really powerful abilities that your player characters can pick. Okay, perks are down here, so every other level you're going to get your perks. So this will give you, ability focus. You're going to get better at some skills, increase the range of a weapon, do a little bit more damage picking, additional fighting style, etc. Species, we've got 5. We've got human, dwarf, elf, halfling, and orc. We'll just pick on the elf, for example, now. So you're going to get your 4 stats: fitness, reflex, senses, and willpower. And with elves, their willpower starts at +3, and then you're going to assign some more points. It will give you your languages, your land speed. So elves are slightly faster. They get 7 spaces, where halflings only get 6. They're good at fighting with natural weapons, with their fists. They get a fighting style with bows. Then you've got a couple of abilities here. So Elven Aptitude, they're incredibly talented at single discipline. So pick a skill from your career. You gain a focus in that, and they're going to live an awful lot longer. It gives you examples of names. And then your capstone down the bottom, if you wanted to pick it. So they get Heart of the Forest, Maneuver. You gain +2 supernatural bonus to your land speed and deal an extra die of damage with melee and ranged weapons until the end of your next turn. So they say these capstones are pretty powerful. There are lots of other features that allow you to do a lot more damage. And say each of the races are going to do something like this. So you get 5 of those. You then get 2 careers, okay? I'm going to pick on some of the more interesting. So the careers range from, so we've got Acolyte, which is a supernatural leader, Archer, Assassin, these sound familiar, Blade Master, Crusader, Deep Delver, so someone that likes to go into the ground, Huntsman, Mercenary Knights, Skald, Tavern Wench, Priest. Priest is the one you might want to pick Priest in a party, because they get to raise the dead, as in bring one of your characters back from the dead, and supernatural healing. Okay, so it's going to allow you to heal people up. But you don't need to. There are other, feats that will help people, not necessarily bring them back from the dead. But let's just pick on the Viking. So you're going to have to pick 2 of these. So you can be a thief Viking. So it's just going to give you a combination. Or you can go full on Viking fighter. Or as we go over, we're going to get into the wizards one. So we've got blue, brown, grey, red, and white wizards. And as you'd imagine, each wizard has its own sort of power. So brown wizards they're sort of druids, so they do shape-shifting. And grey wizards could do thunderclap, sonic blast, etc. So this is their damage. So we're picking on the Viking. So the Viking's going to get 2 skills. So he gets athletics and combat. And these will all be at 2 because they're tier 1. And when you go to tier 3, they'll go to +3. And then they just get to pick another skill. Don't forget, you're going to get another one. So if we were going thief, we'd also get investigate, stealth, and another skill. So you're going to start with 6 skills. We're going to get some additional abilities. So oarsman here makes us good at sailing, and berserk, which means we gain damage reduction 2 for the next minute. So any damage dealt to us is going to be 2 less. We're also going to be able to unarmored warrior. If you're not wearing heavy armor when you go berserk, you get an extra damage of melee dice. And then we're going to have cut purse, so you can use a maneuver. So all of these 6 special abilities we're going to have. We have to pick one of the starting equipments from either one. And the capstones, so when we go from tier to tier 2, we can pick up one of these capstones. Okay. So that's just picking your careers. We're then into the skills. The skills section nicely details all of the skills. So what athletics does, as you'd imagine. The one that art and culture, so it talks about seasonal festivals, astronomy, different astronomical events that go on. And there aren't many skills in the game. There's about 15, that's it, which is nice because it keeps it simple. It's a bit like 5th edition, like or hate 5th edition. One of the nice things it does is a small skills list. Some games, they just have too many skills. This isn't an out-and-out combat game because you are going to need to talk to people, especially later on as you start to level up, and because there are rules for this. You're going to probably want to build your own empire. Okay, so it's a little bit Heroes of Might and Magic if you played that sort of game where you can build a castle and all the world around it and So we'll come on to that as we go through. 3 different types of feats. So we've got general feats here, supernatural feats, and combat feats. Oh, sorry, I should say features, but it's the same thing as feats or powers. And you're going to get these every 3 levels as you go up. So I'll just pick on Beastmaster here. So the prerequisite is requires survival training, but if you have that, you can pick this feat, and you're going to gain a pet beast with up to 18 hit points, and it shares turn order with you, so it's going to be able to fight alongside you. As you then pick other feats, so for example, we've got Swarm Lord. You can see why I picked this. So this requires Beastmaster, which we've got down here, and this is going to make your beast a little bit more powerful, more hit points, and you're going to be able to speak with it within your own language. So we've got all these so standard feats here. Then you've got combat feats, so things like Brawler and Charioteer. So these are going to make you better at combat, giving you more damage, more attacks per round. You can help other people attack and go on their turn. And then we've got supernatural things like Boom. Whenever you cast a sonic boom, you can move people. So this is just upping the damage of your spells and making the spells more powerful. Like Immolate, requires magic training. When you deal fire damage to a creature, you may immolate to deal 3 additional dice of damage to him. That's not just 3 dice, that's 3 extra dice. Or Valkyrie, you can fly. So that's what the feats do. Equipment, say you get a static list to start with, but you do get money, so anything that you're going to need to buy is in here. Okay, another little minor grumble really about the way the rule book's laid out. When it comes to these tables, I like it. The books, they do alternating shading, so it does, so we've only got, say, 4 in each box here, but to read across better for me, I like it when they go blank, shaded, blank, shaded, etc, etc. It's just a little bit, I think, easier. And then you've got the sort of properties on the weapon, so things like heavy or impact. So these are keywords that are going to do additional damage or have additional requirements. So heavy, like you're going to need 2 hands on the weapon. You need to buy additional adventuring equipment and gear. It's all in here, as well as clothing, and sort of miscellaneous stuff like night pens if you want to write an invisible secret letter to someone, or you need a pickaxe, and potions and toolkits. And then we are going to get on to, we're then into vehicles and steeds. So if you need to buy a draft horse or a war horse, this very much feels, if anyone's played Pendragon, when you're buying, fully sort of decking out your knight in armor of that is your character creation. So that's rules, character creation, and equipment in 74 pages. So the other 220 odd pages now is pretty much world, beasts, and monsters. Okay. Kingdoms and Warfare. There are 4 set castles in here, and if you can take over the castles, it tells you how much it's going to cost you annually and then how much revenue you're going to make. It's going to be more difficult to take over one of the 4 existing castles, so that's fine. You can go and buy one. So if you want a grand castle, it's going to cost you 450,000 crowns, and it lets you know how many servants it's going to support, and courtiers and knights. Or you can steal one. You might want to steal one or build one from the ground up if you've got enough money, but you're going to need to look after it. You can put things like shrines, chapels in there. You're going to have to pay the staff to look after it as well. Because this is a world building section, we've got this here section here for seasonal events that are going to go on that will, so it's like a sort of it's like a downtime chart that is just going to give some sort of random, mostly bad things that's going to go on in your kingdom. You've got all the costs and prices for servants and retainers. Because there is an element of, heroes of might and magic, raising an army, going out and fighting another land, you're going to need to raise an army. And the rules in here for raising an army and how many people that you can raise, the percentage of the population, the siege weapons, how they work, the cost for the siege weapons, and then this really cool abstracted mass combat. Because if you think about it, if you're in a combat with 150, 200, even 1,000 other people fighting somewhere else, the player characters are going to be having their fights and their combats. So you need to abstract out in this wonderful way of how the rest of the combat is going. And this is just, so you've got an example table here. So you work it out beforehand, you roll a d12, and then it just goes from there, and that will help swing. Depending on how well you're doing as the leader as well, that can actually influence the dice that are going on. But bad things can happen. If you are unlucky, you might be really successful, but the rest of your army might just die. Okay. Nautical adventures, you want to go out and fight in the sea. This is going to have your rules for buying ships or stealing a ship. Steal a ship. You should definitely steal a ship. The weather tables, as well as random encounter tables for rivers, shallows, and the deep. Okay, so Gamesmaster section. This will then help you be a games master in this. It's not incredibly rules light, but I think it's very fast paced the way it plays. But it's going to give you some hints and tips. And there's one thing that it does here is this timer. I like this timer section. So this is, if you know something's coming up, it just say sort of, roll a d4. What I would do is I would just put it out in the table. So just always drop a d4 in front of everyone. And then every round, roll it down. It's a good way of making players have to do something because they know something is coming. Or you can keep it to yourself. Make treasure and consequences important. So if you've got sort of murder hobo players, make it a living world. If they go around murdering people, next time they come to that same town, don't make everyone friendly. You've got an NPC traits and reactions here. So it's going to be more difficult. If you've just killed someone's neighbour and you come into the town, most of the town aren't going to like you. We've got rules for overland travel and morale rules to say it covers this earlier in the combat section, but obviously different creatures are going to react to different things in other ways. And we've got 6 tables now of random encounters. And so overland encounters, depending on whether it's deserts, forests, grasslands, mountains, swamps, or underground. So it's not really a hex crawl once we get to the back of the book, and I'll show you that. But there's lots of sort of abstract traveling to places because it's not done in hexes, it's done in miles distance. So it sort of tells you where different places are and how long it's going to take to get there. And then you'll depending on how long it takes to get there and when they're traveling will determine how many random encounters that they have. We're then into it's almost, I think it's about 150 or it's 100, isn't it? 100, just over 100 pages of creatures. And this is where we're getting a lot more art in the book. And initially we've got beasts and then we go on to monsters. But the beasts aren't quite as friendly as they sound because so we've got, eagles, cats, panthers, cattle. It's all sounding crustaceans, so, giant crabs, dinosaurs. So it does ramp up quite quickly in this world. So they are classed as beasts, and that's because some of the spells affect either beasts or monsters or humans. Okay, so obviously you just got to pay attention to the keywords. And running the monsters is nice and easy. So we're going to pick on a T-Rex here. So this is defense. You need 10 to hit it. Hit points 180. It's going to take a long time to kill this. So you're probably going to want some sort of ballista to try and take it down. It's going to outrun your players, so if you want to run away, you're not running away. It's gigantic. It's got its stats here, and then it's got protection, so you're not going to really hurt it with blunt or slashing weapons. It's not immune, luckily. It's got night vision. It's got some really good skills, investigation, combat, athletics, so you're going to struggle to hide from it. And then things like armored hide. So absorption, your armored hide absorbs the first round that when you take combat. So whether that be 1 or 20 damage, it's taking nothing. Remember, if you've got blunt or slashing, it's half damage from that as well. It's got this paralyzer. So you deal extra damage against creatures that have moved since. So if it's trace, so if you stand still, you're going to take less damage against it. You're still going to take a lot of damage. It's got 2 actions, so it's going to make 2 bites against you, doing 3d10 damage. It's going to hurt. It's got some claw attacks as well. That's off its feet, not off its arms, obviously. And then a terror wave sort of shout that it's got. So each of the creatures will be stats nice and simple. And the stat blocks, they're very easy to follow because, say, you've got, just pick the board. So top bits: defense, hit points, speed, etc., stats, any sort of skills it's got in there, and then it's got special ability, maneuvers, and then actions. Okay, so this is going to go through. We've got unicorns, we've got insects, kraken, which is why I say it's kraken's in the beast, not in the monsters. Naga is in the beast, as well as phoenix, and the phoenix gets, as you'd imagine, the ability to just fires a rebirth. So when it does die, it's going to pop back up and have another go. Right, let's get into and see some of the monsters in here. So basilisk, aberrations, deep ones, lots of dragons, and most of the dragons are named in here. And then we've got the dragon people, which they're not very light. The Dracarans, they live in another one of the countries that we'll cover later on in the book. So false doors, a bit like mimics. Don't want to open one of those. Nymphs. Goblins, giants, golems. So there's just hundreds and hundreds of creatures, minotaurs, ogres. A lot of the stat blocks will be like this. So for example, we've got ogre, and then it's broken into sort of a cleaver, a shaman, a skull crusher, and a chieftain. Variety of different oozes as well. And then we've got vampires. So 3 different vampires, starting with the basic seducer, all the way up to a vampire lord. And then my favourite, because I do love werewolves, we've got the werewolves here. So the Burgast, Silverback, and the Werewolf Alpha, which when they bite you, it's got lycanthropy rules here, so you can catch it and become a werewolf yourself, which is really, really Skyrim of this game, which I like. But werewolves also come with, and other creatures come with this, where it's this regeneration, which is terrifying. So at the beginning of your turn, if it's been at least 1 minute since you took solar damage or damage from a silver weapon, you regain your full maximum hit points. Okay, so so all they need to do is get away for a minute, and then they're going to fully recover, and then they can come back. And because these got a combat speed of 8, they could fail the morale check, run away, heal up for a bit, then come back. So yeah, it's going to be quite fun. You're going to still licking your wounds, and they're going to be ready to go. And then I think we're just closing down with wights, witches, and zombies, aren't we? Then we're going to look at some NPCs. So these are just other NPCs that are going to be interacted in the world and the different countries that you're going to come across. So elves, as you imagine, elves, dwarfs, halflings, orcs, and humans, which are your sort of starting races for all the other players. All the other NPCs in this world will only seem to have, that I could work out, only have 1 career. So as a player, you can have 2 careers. These are all going to have 1. So we're still on lots and lots of humans. So I think this is more of a human-centric world. So yeah, so it's things like the wizards. So for example, like the white wizard, you've got a white wizard here that's only a white wizard. As you as a player, you could be a white wizard and a red wizard. So you're going to get some of that ice and freezing stuff, as well as fireball and blowing things up and destroying stuff. Treasure tables. So as creatures get killed or as you find things, you've got random treasure tables here, as you'd imagine, for random loot generator, gold, special items, so decorations you can find for your castle when you've got one, musical games and tables, rugs, jewelries, and then you're into magical items. There are rules for making your own magical items as well, but if you don't want to make them on this random table, there's about 8 pages of magic items. Oh no, that's the magic weapons. So it's about 13 pages all in. Yeah, so there's a huge amount in here. That's it. That's all. That is just all in the book. So we then go on to the starting adventure, which seems a little bit deadly to me. Standard stuff. Starting a bar. Someone needs help. By Jenny Carter. You don't get much more English and human name than that. Who's the tavern wench, which obviously is one of the playable races. One of the starting classes. And yeah, she needs help, so you're just going to go into this tunnel and murder hobo a load of evil goblins. That's your adventure, okay? And you are in the town of Grimstead, which is a really good place to stay, because as we go over the page, once we get into, so we get a sample here of some, so it's three more locations. So we've got the Black Iron Inn is where they start, and we've got the Axe and Blade, the Emerald Eye, and the Chapel. So this is a small town, and there's about 250 people live here. That's it. But each of these locations has got a starting quest or two to give to the players to go out and discover as they go into the world. So for example, here they've got a quest. A wounded vampire hunter stumbles into Grimstead at dusk and collapses on the streets. Several villagers carry Griff to the chapel. So he's going to want you to go and find a vampire, you would imagine. So now we turn over, we then get to see just how much bigger the world actually is. So we've looked at Grimstead itself, which is your starting town with your little mission to go off to sort of your level 1 adventure to get going. So we'll then see where Grimstead is actually situated within the Witchwood. And within the Witchwood itself, you'll see all these locations here. So these are points of interest that the players can go to. It's not they're fixed locations on here, but this is a sandbox from here on in. So the players can go and do what they want. You will just give them hints and tips for the points of interest. So for example, Bleak Hollow Moor, which is 72 miles away. Sort of sound about so it's not a hex crawl, it just gives you an idea of distance, so you'll know just how many times you need to roll the random encounters on the way there. Fireheart Keep, which is 30 miles to the south, so you can see that here, and it will give you a with this one, who lives there, and a quest to go there, and the details of the treasure that is inside. So we've got things like the Haunted Manor, the Ruined Castle, the Sanding Stones of Mercia. And it just keeps going, Silver Flagon, the Sunken Tower. Mega Dungeons. So there are a variety of Mega Dungeons, and we've got rules in here for building your own Mega Dungeon within reason. So you will need to either build it from a variety of books or go and download one. There's lots of Mega Dungeons freely available on things like DriveThruRPG, or you can Google them, or you can build one yourself. I would recommend using the rules for 2D6 Dungeon, which is a incredibly good game for building dungeons, as well as Chubby Funkster does one in his GM's Companion. That's really good, but it basically talks about how each level should have a theme. So this one's got 3 levels to it, and each boss then has an end level boss, and it sort of teaches you about how to build traps and encounters and sort of different things that go on in different areas as well. And for example, if you're going to build the caverns of Abingdon, which is approximately 24 miles southwest, it firstly details the entrance, but then it gets into the natural cavern section, the ruin section, and then the temple section. So this is over 3 different sections, and it will tell you to build random encounter tables. Luckily, it gives you an example on the first one here for your 3 different levels: the natural caverns, the ruins, and the temple, as well as your big boss. It's detailed further down below, so you can adjacently have got the rules for Mega Dungeons in here. Traveling merchants. There are 4 traveling merchants in the game that will have a variety of artifact, treasure, or magical items to interact with the players, and they will then send them on quests. So you can buy stuff off them or send them on quests to go and discover more things to trade, and then they become friends with the party. Now, if that isn't enough of a world for you, we're then going into the Horde Wars setting, which is the final chapter in the book, which details the continent itself, which technically is a Middle Ages Europe. So we've got Mercia here, Arwen here, which is sort of Ireland, and Dallas, which is a kind of Spain type thing. Franconia sounds like France to me. And as we go through the areas, so I forgot this. You can go on crusades. So if you can get the other kingdoms together. You can all sort of join forces and go on a crusade, which sounds marvelous, to be honest. Yeah, I'd say that there's a lot in this book. We'll look at each of the kingdoms, and they're all listed out here. So Andalus, Angsburg, Brigmar, Kerwin, Easterons, Franconia. We'll just look at Franconia, so give the example. So it will detail a little bit about the geography of the land itself, the rulers. So we've got King Henry and Queen Giselle Cheval, I think that is. There's a human kingdom. Talks about some of the houses. So again, like most of this book, it doesn't tell you as a games master exactly what to do, but it gives you an awful lot of things if you're going to base stories in that area. So specialist soldiers, they've got their horse archers. Talks about their culture and chivalry, male only primogeniture, so property and titles pass through the firstborn male line. Only males can inherit. The different countries or continents will have those different. They will vary. They've got twin law, so identical twins are legally the same person. This results in many marriages between pairs of twins in Franconia. And then we've got we've got 3 new sort of unique locations. So the main cathedral, the Crusader Keep, and a castle here. Again, with some events that are going to go on and some quests for the players. And all the areas and Mercia's got exactly the same. So this is a male preference primogeniture. So property is titled through the firstborn male. Females can inherit if no surviving brothers. So if they murder or have murdered their brothers, then the females can inherit. Again, storylines are just coming out of the information that's based in here. And you can go off to a joust. And then finally, we've got Valheim, which is the frozen land that's covered in the scattered forests, mountains, and glaciers. This is where the warring clans of orcs live, with human slaves. Their culture is based on exploration, sagas, of course, so it sounds very much our sort of historical Vikings, really, Scandinavians. They got male-only partible inheritance. Only males can inherit. Property and title is divided amongst sons. Brothers can inherit if there are no surviving sons. I think that probably should say daughters can inherit if there are no surviving sons. Got to. And then trial by combat. So legal disputes are often settled in public duels to the death. Jarls appoint champions to fight for them. As they would. Why would you risk your own life when you can pick someone else to go and die and you can keep your land? Again, we've got 3 different areas. And then the reason I picked on this one, because I thought this was a misprint in the book. As you go over, you've got this Earl Ordog, which is an ancient vampire lord monster. I was like, shouldn't this be in the monster section? And then it's here. It's all to do with the Nightwood, so it is related. I just thought it was a misprint in the book. But I have found one. This should say daughters, I'm sure, can inherit. It's not often a dyslexic spots a spelling error in a book. Finally, we're going to get some pre-generated characters that the players can either just play. You can put these into the starting adventures or create their own, and then we've got the character sheet at the back of the book. That is a huge amount of content within 300 pages for the amount of money. It is such a bargain on everything that's included. Now, I've already said that I absolutely love this. Hopefully you could tell, going through. Yes, I did manage to spot a couple of issues. But ignoring the basic rules for a second, the world that they've created for this is really, really interesting, especially for me, because I do like my medieval history, and I like the fact it's very much based on Europe. Oh, I forgot to mention as I was going through, there is a main religion as well, so that there is sort of one religion for the most of the continent that everyone sort of follows, which runs in line with the cathedrals. So it's almost as if everything has been thought of and covered. So the setting alone, I think is good enough to run most games. So you could take even other systems and run this game world in the setting. So setting, thumbs up, absolutely amazing. The rules themselves, say it's 12 pages. It's probably one of the simplest rule sets I've looked at for a while. Roll a d12, trying to get over a certain amount. Yes, there's a bit of ambiguity over
sort of skills, skills and attributes. Well, there isn't, but the book doesn't really cover it. It doesn't tell you what the attributes do, as in exactly what they are, but everything that's related to them is just a save that the players will be rolling a d12, adding that stat to them. Skills, roll a d12, add your skill, looking to get over a skill number, either succeed or fail. d12, mentioned it several times, great dice to roll. You're going to roll criticals so much more often in this game. Unless the monsters do this, some of the monsters do this really nasty thing. I can't think what it's called, and I missed it when I went through. I didn't pick one of the monsters, and they can make your dice a little bit more difficult. So as opposed to giving you a minus, so you've got all these things where you can add a preference, so you can add +2 to dice rolls. Instead of going -2 to the dice roll, what they do is they reduce your dice size from a d12 to a d10. Which doesn't sound that problematic, but when you think about it, you can only then roll a maximum of a 10. And do you crit on that 10? No, you don't. You have to roll a natural 12. So if your die value is reduced, you'll never crit in until whatever happens has gone up. I've run through a few combats, and it's fun. It's fast, it's fun. Character generation. It's not a 5-minute character generation because there are some things to think about, but it's only 10-15 minutes to roll a character, which is good. The hardest bit is deciding whether you want to be sort of magic, sword fighter, or a Viking, Skald. It's trying to sort of pick some that are comparable, but I wouldn't. Just pick what you want to play. If you want to go out with an out-and-out mage, you can. And the good thing about the mages is all the mages come with a basic spell that they can just keep doing all the time. And that is going to get bigger and better as they get more perks and more feats to make their spells more damaging. As you saw with the one where I talked about the immolation, suddenly getting 3 more dice as you go through it. The monster and the beast. The beast is a little bit confusing because I would say probably 20% of the monsters are beasts. But if that's your biggest wrinkle with the game, the fact that it uses words that I probably wouldn't. Okay, I love the layout. This is a really good book. I've said that several times. I do think, I think this is a first time published. I couldn't see anything else that they'd actually done or created. I love it, absolutely love it. To the extent I've got a gaming weekend with my friends. We do it twice a year. We get together. We have a proper weekend of playing several games. And I was going to run Wrath and Glory. Now I'm running Horde Wars. That's top of my list now to play. I've got a couple of other things I want to run, but this is definitely going to be straight into my top 10 of the year. Absolutely amazing. So go and grab a copy of it. If you're in America, you can get this wonderful hardback copy of it. You can get the soft copy or PDF. If you're outside of America, sadly, PDF only. If this works out, I will let you know in some of my socials. So come and find me on Discord. I've got X, I've got Facebook, so I can sort of do more updates on those sort of channels as well. So I have got a Discord, I have got a Patreon, which is very basic. I'm working on that at the moment. I've gone sidetracked, but Horde Wars, multiple thumbs up. Go and buy it. You can murder hobo lots of things at once and then run away from dragons. That is my advice. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. Go and buy Horde Wars Advanced by Blackwall Games. It's going to be one of the good games of the year.